I was 24 at the time, working as a delivery driver for a medical supply company. I used to get the late-night routes, hospitals, rehab centers, and the occasional emergency home delivery. The nights were quiet, empty, almost peaceful. Honestly, I liked it. No traffic, no noise, just me, the road, and the dim glow of the dashboard. But the night I'm about to tell you about, that was the night that made me quit. It was around 2:30 in the morning. I had just finished dropping off a piece of equipment at a rehab facility outside the city. When I pulled back onto the highway, everything was silent. Not a single car ahead of me, no one behind me. Just an open stretch of dark road. At least, that's how it was for a while. About 10 minutes in, I noticed headlights appear in my rearview mirror. Nothing strange about that, people drive late at night all the time. But after a few minutes, I realized the car behind me wasn't just following the road. It was following me. Whenever I changed lanes, the car changed with me. If I slowed down, it slowed down. If I sped up, it sped up. But it never tried to pass. Never got closer, never backed off. It stayed at the exact same distance, like it was tethered to me. That was the first moment I felt something tighten in my chest. I took the next exit suddenly, without signaling, just to see what it would do. The car took the exit too. I turned right. It turned right. I turned left. It turned left. At that point, the fear wasn't subtle anymore. It was rising in me like cold water. I pulled into the parking lot of a closed dollar store, one of those big empty lots with way too many lights. I figured if the car passed me, I'd know I was just being paranoid, but it didn't pass. It pulled in, too. I felt my throat go dry as the car rolled slowly into the lot, then stopped. It didn't park. Didn't even pull up next to me. It just sat there across the lot with its headlights off. I couldn't see who was inside. I couldn't see anything except the shape of the car. I didn't want to get out. I didn't even want to breathe too loudly. I just sat there gripping the steering wheel, watching that dark shape in the distance. Then my phone buzzed. At first I ignored it, but something in me told me to look. That it was a text from an unknown number. The message said, "Don't get out of the car." My heart dropped. My hands started shaking. Someone was watching me, right then, right there. I looked around, checked every mirror. The car across the lot hadn't moved, but now it felt like it was staring at me. Another text came. "He's not alone." I swear my vision blurred for a second. I looked back at the car, and that's when I saw the faint outline of a second figure in the back seat. And the moment I noticed, the car's interior light flicked on, just for half a second. It was enough. There were 3 people inside, and they were all wearing masks. I don't remember making the decision to move. My body just reacted. I slammed the car into drive and tore out of that parking lot so fast I nearly jumped the curb. I didn't look back. I didn't breathe. I stayed on the lit roads until the sun came up. When I finally got to the company warehouse, I parked the van, walked straight inside, left the keys on the desk, and quit. No 2 weeks notice. No explanation. I still don't know who was in that car. I don't know how they got my number. And I don't know what would have happened if I'd stepped outside that night, but sometimes, when the roads are quiet and I'm driving alone, I still see that car in my rearview mirror, same distance, same silence. And every time, I wonder, what if it never stopped following me at all? I used to rent a small basement apartment on the edge of town. It wasn't much, 1 bedroom, a tiny kitchen, low ceilings, but it was cheap, and at 23, that was all I cared about. The best part was that the house above me was supposed to be empty. The owner lived abroad, and the upper floor had been locked for years. So the basement was all mine. Quiet. Private. Peaceful. Or at least, that's what I thought. About 2 months after I moved in, I started hearing noises from the floor above me. At first it was nothing, like soft creaks, occasional footsteps. Old houses make sounds, I told myself. Wood expands, pipes shift, whatever. But the noises didn't happen randomly. They happened at night. Only at night. And always around the same time, between 2 and 3 a.m. One night, as I was lying in bed scrolling through my phone, I heard something that froze me completely. That a dragging sound, slow, heavy, like someone was pulling furniture across the floor directly above my bedroom. I sat up and just listened. The dragging stopped. Then came footsteps, slow, deliberate, pacing back and forth. I knew I was the only tenant. I had the only key, no one was supposed to be up there. I didn't sleep that night. The next day, I called the owner. She assured me no one had access, and she hadn't rented the upper unit to anyone in years. She said she'd send someone to check the locks. But days passed, no one came, and the noises kept getting worse. The footsteps turned into something else, breathing. It started one night when I was brushing my teeth. I heard it above me, deep, uneven breaths, like someone struggling to inhale. It was so clear I could almost feel the exhale through the ceiling. I backed into the hallway, listening with my heart pounding. And then, the breathing stopped abruptly, replaced by 3 slow knocks, right above me, perfectly spaced. I didn't go back to the bathroom for the rest of the night. The next evening, I got home late from work. The house was dark except for the faint yellow hallway light I always left on. As I unlocked the basement door, something felt off. It was too quiet, like the air was thicker. Heavier. When I stepped inside, I stopped dead. There were footprints on the basement floor, not mine, bare feet. Dusty, leading from the far corner of the room, to my bedroom door. My bedroom door, which I had closed that morning, was now wide open. I wanted to believe I was imagining everything. That maybe I had forgotten to close the door. That maybe the prints were somehow mine. But the size was wrong, they were larger, wider. And they weren't going toward the corner. They were coming from it. For a few minutes, I just stood there staring at the open door. Then, slowly, I stepped forward. I don't know why. Maybe I needed to prove to myself no one was inside. Maybe I was too scared to run. I pushed the door fully open and turned on the light. Nothing, the room was empty. But as I backed out, I noticed something scratched into the inside of the doorframe. Thin, shaky letters carved into the wood. It wasn't there the day before. I would have seen it. It said, "Don't go upstairs." I packed up that same night. Left half my stuff behind. I didn't care. 2 months later, the owner contacted me saying she had finally gone to inspect the place. She said the upper floor was exactly as she'd left it, furniture covered, dust everywhere, except for one thing. In the middle of the living room upstairs, there were footprints, bare feet, same size as the ones I saw. But here's the part that still keeps me awake: the footprints weren't heading toward any door or window, they were heading toward the center of the room, and stopping in a perfect circle of dust, like someone had been standing there for a long time. Watching, listening, waiting for someone below. I don't know what was living up there, and I'm glad I never found out. I used to take the late-night bus home from my job at a diner. The last shift ended at 1 a.m. and the bus usually came around 1:20. It wasn't the safest part of the city, but the bus stop was under a streetlight, and there were always a few night shift workers waiting with me, except on Sundays. Sundays were dead. No people, no cars, no noise. Just an empty stretch of road and the faint buzz of the streetlight. One Sunday night, I was sitting alone at the stop scrolling through my phone when I heard the bus approaching from the distance. The sound of the engine, the headlights sweeping across the pavement, everything normal. But as the bus pulled up, I felt something was off. The interior lights were on, but I didn't see a driver. No passengers. Just rows of empty seats glowing under that yellow light. I hesitated, but the bus stopped exactly at my feet, doors hissing open like it was waiting for me. I stepped inside slowly. The air smelled stale, like old fabric and something metallic. I tapped my card on the reader, no beep. The machine was off. I started walking toward the middle of the bus when I heard something lightly tapping against glass. I turned around. In the very back seat, pressed against the window, was a man that I didn't hear him get in, that I didn't see him when the bus arrived, and he was sitting so still, I almost thought he was a reflection. He was facing the window, forehead touching the glass, tapping it slowly with one finger. Tap, 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 never looking at me. I froze. The bus was silent except for that sound. I couldn't see his face clearly, just the outline of his jaw and the way his shoulders rose and fell like he was breathing too fast. I tried to get the driver's attention, only to realize there still wasn't a driver. The seat was empty. The steering wheel was moving slightly on its own, like the bus was being guided by something invisible. My instinct screamed at me to get off. I turned toward the door, and that's when I heard it, the tapping stopped. Slowly, painfully slowly, the man's head turned toward me. Not his body, just his head, like it wasn't connected right. His face was pale, too pale, and his eyes. I don't know how to explain them. They were wide open, unblinking, and they didn't look real. Like painted glass, his mouth started stretching into a smile that didn't match anything human. And then he spoke, not loudly, just a whisper that somehow filled the entire bus. Sit down. I bolted. I ran out of the bus so fast I nearly tripped on the curb. When I looked back, the bus doors slammed shut and it pulled away, speeding off into the empty road with no driver, and that man still staring at me from the back window, smiling, not moving. The next morning, I told the transit office what happened. They checked the route logs and told me something that still gives me chills. No bus had been scheduled on that route at that hour, none of their buses were out, and the bus number I gave them had been decommissioned 3 years earlier after an accident that killed the driver and the only passenger, a man found sitting in the back row, facing the window. I still take the bus, but never on Sundays, and never if I see someone sitting in the back seat.